Hey, what's going on everybody? Alex with you here again as usual. Thanks for dropping by for yet another chess video. It's always great to see you guys. We're going to be returning to the iChess 1 electronic folding chessboard. In this video, we're going to be revisiting this board. If you guys have seen me review this board before, starting from about probably a year ago when I reviewed the prototype version of this board, you would know that even from that particular video, I was always favorably predisposed to this product just because everything kind of works really well and the board just works the way that it should. But the reason where we're going to be doing this particular video today is that recently, probably within the past couple of months, the company has reached out and said, hey, we're going to be sending you some other chess pieces for this particular board. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. The company, in fact, has sent me two different chess sets, one of which they call the timeless chess pieces or the timeless chess set. And if I'm not mistaken, this might be the same chess set that originally came within the prototype chessboard that I've had, the iChess 1 that I had to send back. The other chess set that they've sent me is this, what they call the prototype. Now, by prototype, it may be that this particular chess set has already sort of reached its final design, but when I hear the word prototype, I usually associate it with an unfinished design. But this is what they call the modern chess set, and I'll show you guys all the pieces. Towards the end of the video, we will be able to test these chess pieces on the board to see how they function. So hopefully you guys will be as excited as I am about these particular chess sets. Okay. Let's dive in. We're going to go ahead and open this up. And as we've seen before, you have the outside packaging, and then inside, this is where I kind of keep the board, keep it from being scratched or anything. I keep it in this little cloth bag here for the iChess 1 logo right over here. And here's our board. We've seen this before. We're going to open the board up and take out the pieces. And then I'm going to zoom the camera a little bit closer so that we can take a look at how these pieces differ. I set up all the three different chess sets on one board so we can kind of have a more or less like an initial comparison look. This particular chess set here in the back row, these are the American Staunton chess pieces that came with my final iChess board. I've been very happy with these chess pieces. They're very refined, they're polished. I really like the fact that they chose to do this sort of a contrasty feel on a board of this particular wooden color. This ebonized boxwood with regular boxwood kind of gives us some more contrast, and overall a nice feel, a nice finish, just because I feel like the pieces go well with the board. These chess pieces, what they call the timeless chess set, and these I believe were the same chess pieces that came with my prototype chessboard that I had to send away. Probably conclude that this particular timeless chess set is a little bit easier to play faster games with it because of two reasons. One of which is the knights are designed the way that they are really easy and quick to grab because of this particular style. Because of the sort of a matte, dull finish of these chess pieces, the surface of these particular chess pieces allow you to grab the pieces a little bit quicker. If you grab the two pieces together like this and you're sort of knocking them into each other, I just feel like they're more made for that. It's more designed for fast games. So lastly, we have what they call the prototype modern chess set right over here in the very front. This is a very different chess set as far as the way that it's designed. You could see that one of the things that we immediately note is sort of the lack of different features. I would say that this modern prototype chess set would win in its visual department and be more appealing to a lot of people that are looking for this sort of like modern like chess set. I think that it's not going to be appealing as much for somebody who wants this sort of like original look, but definitely for somebody that wants a little bit more unique feel to their set. As far as the weight of these chess pieces, I'm going to kind of give you that information here now. We're going to start off with this Staunton, American Staunton. It is weighted at 46 grams for the king. Now the timeless, I think, is going to be a little bit lighter, 31 grams. So once again, a little bit of a heavier chess set, a little bit of a lighter chess set. Lighter chess sets sometimes are a little bit more going to be more suited for quicker games, just because you can exchange pieces a little bit quicker and they feel better in hand as far as sort of like you really feel like you could exchange these pieces so fast that you could be playing, you know, bullet or blitz games. So that's kind of nice. And then this prototype one is actually super light. It's 19 grams for the king here, but we would expect it to be lighter just because, I mean, look how much thinner these chess pieces are. I mean, there's a very small amount of material here, and the only thing that has material is going to be sort of the base here. At the very bottom has a little bit more. As far as the queens go, the queen here, and I know we're measuring alternating, so I know there's going to be a few gram difference probably in the dark versus light, but 38 grams for the American Staunton, and then 27 grams. So there's 11 gram difference here between the dark queen of the American Staunton and the dark queen of the timeless chess pieces, and 19 grams for the modern. So definitely lightest here on the very edge, lighter, and then heaviest here in the back here. Okay, so now we'll move on to the bishops. Bishops weigh in 24 grams for the American Staunton, 22 grams for the timeless, and then 14 grams for the modern. The knights, the dark knight here measures at 28 grams. The dark knight of the timeless measures at 23 grams, and then the dark knight of the modern weighs it at 15 grams. As far as the rooks go, the rook of the American Staunton weighs in at 22 grams. The timeless one weighs in at 19 grams, so not much of a difference there. And then the modern one weighs in at 15 grams. As far as pawns, the light pawn here of the American Staunton is 15 grams. The timeless is at 15 grams also, and then the modern one is at 6 grams, so definitely a lot lighter. Given that this particular set here that we see is deemed as prototype, it may or may not undergo additional changes as they finish the development. This might actually be the end of this particular chess set as far as its design. And this might be what we're going to end up with. One of the significant factors when they design these chess pieces that we want things to be stable regardless of what the weight is. You could have a pretty heavy chess set, but if it's not stable, then then it's going to potentially be a problem. Let's take a closer look at these chess pieces here. We have the prototype modern chess set. Really quite an unusual and aesthetic chess set overall. We'll take a quick look here in just a second at some of the details that I'll point out to you that I feel like are important to note about this particular chess set. Then following this line here a little bit more closely, we have what they call the timeless chess set. I definitely think there's going to be an appeal out there to some people that want sort of a simplistic looking chess set that we see here. The American Staunton design with slightly more refined pieces. The rook looks a little bit more detailed. The knight has some more detail, so we can start to see the emergence of the teeth and the face a little bit more. Then the bishop kind of looks a little bit different. And then the king and the queen follow more or less kind of a Staunton, original Staunton design. Nothing too elaborate, but still, it's gonna look a little bit different here. This particular angle here, I'm hoping will give you guys a better idea as far as the height differences of these chess pieces. Let's take a quick look at the modern prototype chess set here a little bit more closely by itself before we dive into the comparison for the other chess pieces. Here's the king. The king's finial, as you can see, is strikingly different from most of what we've seen before. It's got this sort of like little tiny, almost like looks like an arrow, or if we look at it in terms of like structural designs, it's also almost kind of looks like some kind of a castle or a tower, with this top portion being the roof of, and maybe this is kind of the balcony or something, but you can just imagine all kinds of things. But I think that This really does look different than most of the finials we've come to see. A lot of times we either see a ball here or just some kind of a cross, but in this case it kind of has this teardrop shape. And really quite a very slender king. I wonder if the overall slenderness of this design would make this chess set a little more prone to breaking, especially at its weakest point, like right over here. So if this king is dropped, probably would be okay. If it's dropped on like a carpet, I wouldn't really think it's much of a big deal, but if it's dropped on some kind of a hard surface, maybe it would be problematic. I'm not sure. In fact, if we see up close here that this design, the king actually is a little more slender than the queen, but that just might be, you know, differences in wood as well. The bottom part, of course, we have this green felt here, nice felt, very, very good. Just like all the other chess pieces, the felt that they use is nice soft felt that allows you for a nice dampened effect. So you don't have that anything like this. Sometimes we'll get a sound like this if the felt is a little bit too thin. And of course, it allows for a nice slidability, I guess, or the ability to slide these pieces around this board. Any of these pieces slide really nicely. We have the bishop here. There is a typical drop off as far as the angulation. This part here is very sharp, actually. It's kind of, you know, almost like you could stick somebody with it. But yeah, super, super sharp at the very edge. My assumption is that this little point, being that it's so sharp, may end up breaking off after a while. Potentially, just because of how like really sharp it is. It might kind of get dulled down or smoothed down, but as of right now, this is the way that it is. Not a lot of, like normally with the bishop, we see, well, first of all, we'll see some kind of a cut through the middle. One of the things that you'll notice, of course, is with this particular chess set, the minimal design features. The top part of the queen here doesn't have what we usually see. They don't have any spikes here. This part right up here just has these sort of 3 different tiers. The very top here we have this little tiny little knob part that is not really circular. It's almost like looks like a little button. And then we have a slightly bigger one on top. We have the same sort of repetition of this particular balcony, I guess I called it, as we did with this. Knight is super simplistic. No eyes, no mouth, no teeth, no mane in the back, no ears. We know that this is knight just because it looks like it's got a head here, with what symbolically looks like a head pointed straight downwards. And so we wouldn't, confuse this particular chess piece with this. We would, we would say, yep, this is a knight. But very interesting, very interesting. It's got a sort of a continuation of the body, very similar to the other chess pieces, and then the base here looks pretty cool. The rook is going to be a little bit different. As far as sort of following the overall design of the rest of the pieces, it still has a very streamlined look, almost like an hourglass shape rook with no extra cuts on top, and you just have this sort of almost like a goblet type of a look. You have an inside part that is, they could have done away with having no inside and just had a very flat, just flat ended here. But they decided to have the inside part. And yeah, the wood I think that they use here, this I believe is the golden rosewood, and this would be boxwood. We'll set 2 pawns on each side here. Are really very small, also very slender, kind of reflective of what the rest of the pieces are doing. The top part doesn't bulge out a whole lot, so we do still have that little ball at the very top, but it's very slender. It's kind of streamlined and goes with the overall dimensions of the rest of the piece. We do have a little line here where we can kind of see by that line there's a, well, this could be considered a little bit of a ball. And then it drops off into this base. Now, when we weighted this chess pieces, I said that it's more so about the shape of the chess set than it is about the weight as far as the stability. So we have, because of the way that the king here is very tall, it's the tallest piece, we do have a little bit of a pendulum effect right over here. So the queen is also going to have a little bit, but that's because it's a taller piece. Now, interestingly, the bishop, which we did see that it was kind of a little bit of on the heavier side, does not have as much of a pendulum effect. It doesn't swing back as much. So similarly, the knight doesn't really wobble, and then the rest of the pieces they don't wobble. So the only pieces that we've seen have a little bit of a wobble is the king and the queen, just because of how tall they are. We have on this side, I will be setting the American Staunton chess pieces in order not to confuse you guys. These are the chess pieces that came with this board. This is the timeless chess set here that originally came with my prototype board, then the board that I had to send away, and then this is the modern one. So we can see a little bit of a height differences here. The timeless chess pieces are going to be a little bit shorter height-wise. Not by much, but a little bit. And a little bit shorter to this point here too, because I know sometimes when they make the finials a little bit too long, that could be what sets the chess pieces apart from as far as the height. But here, this particular king is a little bit shorter, and then the base is going to be just a tad bit smaller than the base of this one as far as the diameter, see? And then, but overall, other than a few minor differences, we still have the same characteristics. So we still have the same 3 rings here. We have this part, and we have, well, more or less looks very similar. Finials are a little bit different. This finial is a little bit more advanced. It's got this little pointy thing at the very top, and then it's got a little more detail. It's a little bit smaller, whereas this finial here kind of looks like it's more archaic looking. Doesn't have the little point at the very top, and just kind of looks a little bit more bigger. We don't usually routinely grab the king by the finial unless the finial is really big. Most of the time we grab it by the top part, maybe this part here, but still makes a difference a little bit. And of course, by comparison, it's hard to compare this particular set to these two, but this is the modern one that we've just seen. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of switch colors back and forth. This way that you guys can get a better idea as far as what the colors look like. As far as the colors of the wood, always we're kind of a little bit more concerned about the colors of the dark wood. And this is what we have as far as the queens. So the 2 queens here for the American Staunton chess pieces and the timeless chess pieces are very, very much so similar. Just a little bit of a kind of a design difference here. It almost looks like this one was taken through a refinement process, and we've pretty much stuck with everything we've had, except we just made it a little bit more refined. If we look at the very top, the points here, this point is more rounded. This one's got a little bit more of a flat top here. And then the spikes look very, very similar. These spikes are a little bit more refined, a little bit smaller here, whereas these kind of look a little bit less refined. Not much of a difference. This will feel a little bit lighter, as we've seen when we compared the weights. Then we have the 3 rings here, this part, and then the base. If we compare the base on the bottom here, they're very similar. There's not a whole lot of difference here. Like I said before, this I believe is ebonized boxwood, and this might be stained boxwood from the way that it looks, because we can see that the way that this particular one looks. It might be another wood, I'm not really sure. This I believe is golden rosewood. Moving on, we've got the bishops. The bishops to the American Staunton chess pieces are going to be taller, quite a bit taller here by comparison. And then we'll see some features that are going to look a little bit different, especially with regards to the shape of the top part here. We have what may look or feel like more like the standard bishop here. The top is kind of this oval feel, with the most bulging part being closer to the middle of that top portion, whereas here we see that they've effectively pushed the widest portion little bit lower, creating this kind of a Hershey's Kisses shape, like a teardrop shape here. That may be more appealing to some people. I like this particular design a lot. I like the way that it kind of creates this sort of a uniformity or the standard feel to a bishop. When we're familiar with a particular shape, we tend to see it more favorably. And then, of course, we have the modern prototype here that it completely is different, and you know, can't really compare much because no cut here, no lines, no rings, no top here. It's all different. Also here at the very top, we have this part here is a little bit bigger in size, and then same type of ring design here, and then about similar, very similar in weight, and very similar in the diameter of the base here too. The knights that we see here, a little bit different. Now the knights might be the reason why one particular chess set is considered or selected over another. Knights is something that a lot of people find important in chess sets, as do I. But I've seen many different chess sets, so I don't regard one particular knight to be inferior to another. It's just sort of a difference in choices, I guess, and choice to design, and choice in who finds something more aesthetic or pleasing than somebody else. This is the American Staunton. This is a type of a knight that we've seen countless times ever since I've done the original video. I think my first video on the Library Grandmaster chess set, the knight actually kind of looked very similar to this. It's got a nice mane here in the back. The ears extend a little bit kind of backwards right over here. They're kind of streamlined back. Part of the continuation of the mane here at the very top. Got the eye, the face looks more horizontal, and then it kind of converges up till the nose point. Then at the nose point it diverges a little bit. There's open teeth here that we see, the nostrils, and then the front part here we have extra details. We have these 3 areas where there's these depressions, 2 side depressions. So more or less, you know, a nice standard uniform knight aesthetic. Not super defined, but very much so a good knight for anybody that's looking out there for like a Staunton design. The German knight that we've seen here will be quite different, We still have similar characteristics in some respects, that we have the eye, of course, and then we have a head that kind of has a more of a diagonal tilt, with the mouth part being more closed, no teeth showing as we see here in the front. Less lines, less depressions than we see on this one. The mane is hidden into the actual body, so that way there's no extra protrusion here from the back. So in the back it actually looks and feels smooth, as opposed to this particular knight. It's got more of this ridge line. It feels a little bit kind of rigid here. And then the ears are also placed a little bit differently, whereas the ears here are sort of looking backwards. Here the ears just kind of stick up a little bit, and yeah, of course different woods, or at least I think that this knight here may be stained boxwood, whereas this one is ebonized boxwood. So just different staining, I guess, different staining processes. But let me know in the comments below, are you more of a fan of the German knight? Would you prefer the Staunton design knight? And if you were to purchase an iChess 1 board today, for example, then which one would you lean more towards? Which one would be the decision? Is a knight design something that weighs heavily in your decision of purchasing a chess set? Let me know those things in the comments below. And then we have the final, the modern prototype. No eyes yet. Maybe this is how it's going to end up. No eyes, really such a striking comparison, such a big difference here. Height-wise, I think that the Staunton knight sits a little bit higher. Then this one kind of looks a little bit more squatty. It also looks like it's got some kind of a back issue, a little bit of a maybe scoliosis or something going on here. This one kind of stands up a little bit more straight. The Rooks, the American Staunton Rook here sits a little bit taller than the timeless Rook. And then the modern design is kind of in between. So at the very top here on both of these, we have the cuts that we normally see on the Rooks. The timeless one only has four cuts here in its design, and it doesn't go down quite a lot. It just kind of has the cuts, and then we have a very shallow here, have a very shallow shelf here. And then this one here, instead of 4, has 6 cuts. The cuts are a little bit more wider than the timeless chess pieces. And also, as we see, it is a little bit deeper here at the very top. So it's bigger, heavier. Otherwise, if you look at them side by side, I mean, they do share a lot of similar characteristics. Instead of this one here has one little line here, one little ring, and then this one has what looks like two little rings here. Like I said, this one is lighter, so picking up this piece is going to be a little bit easier for some people, especially those that might have some issues with finger strength or wrist issues. So, you know, in those circumstances, if you're playing a lot of chess, if you do suffer from any type of arthritis or anything like that, then, you know, it would make a difference. A few grams here and there would probably make a difference for how, you know, how you're picking up these pieces, how much you're putting strain on, for example, your wrist or your hand. It does make a lot of difference for some people. So, and then of course we have the modern design. Doesn't have any cuts as we've seen before, and then it's very sort of slick and flat here. Just kind of goes into this depression that is also flat, and then the side like an hourglass shape here. So this is really cool. And then finally we've got the pawns here. Pawns, as far as the American Staunton and the timeless chess pieces, do look very similar, and I believe they're both 15 grams in weight, so they're going to be very similar. Just different coloration slightly. More or less the rings are kind of about the same. This part here and this part are at different heights, and then this pawn here from the timeless chess set also kind of sits a little bit more closer to the board, but the shape overall of the balls is very similar, and everything else, the way they feel, the way they handle, is going to be also very much so similar. And then we have this one, of course, not much of a comparison, but I set it right next to it just so that I can give you guys an idea. So these are the pawns. So these modern prototype chess pieces are fully functional. So I started a game that you see right over here against the AI just to show you guys how it works. And I made my first move here. And yeah, so just like the original pieces, this chess set works really well. So it works very quickly. Hopefully you guys will be able to see the screen here. Very fast. Now, of course, we're playing against the AI, but it's always nice to see, because like we've reviewed some other chessboards, especially, what was it, like the Chess Genius and stuff, was kind of one of those chess pieces that they shouldn't have done that. But it's one of those things when you start to play against the AI, a lot of times, if the game starts progressing, the AI seems to get kind of bogged down a little bit, and then, you know, we have some issues or problems with basically sitting around and waiting for the AI to make their move, which in this case, that's not the case. But I love the way that the iChess one's been always a very quick board. It works very fast. It doesn't hiccup or anything like that, so that's always great to see. We can change some pieces up. So like, let's say if I wanted to take this piece, and of course once you take the piece off, it shows you all the different moves that you can do. If we were to say, for example, put a queen here, it'll give me a red. If I put a different pawn here, as long as it's the right color pawn, it looks like it's identifying it as the proper piece. I'm not really playing much, so if you see me blundering, it's okay. I'm just trying to kind of conclude that I think what's happening is if we put another rook here, it won't have an issue. So these sensors that are inside these pieces are interchangeable among pieces of the same kind. So I'm assuming that both these rooks here, given that they're white rooks, and the other rook from the other chess set will probably have the same sensors in them. So these three rooks, which is kind of nice, because if you do end up having several different chess piece designs, you could always, like, if somebody says, well, which particular chess set would you like to play with? Well, I'd like to play with the timeless chess pieces. I, on the other hand, would maybe like to play with the American Staunton or the modern. So you can choose to set up your pieces in a different design than they would, which I know some people do that, which maybe your fancy, maybe not. I mean, personally, I would keep all my pieces uniform to prevent confusion, but you have that option. So if you end up purchasing, for example, the iChess 1, and you purchase it with the timeless chess pieces, and then later on you decided, I should have got the modern or maybe the American, then you always have the option to upgrade or just buy the pieces separately, and you'll know that your board should be able to recognize them without really having any issues. That's the awesome part. You don't actually have to buy two different boards if you wanted to upgrade or change things up, which is really, really neat. In the future, you know, if this board really takes off, we're going to have a whole plethora of different chess pieces that you can choose from, just like we have with like the GGT company, and you shouldn't really have any problems. As far as the ergonomics of the modern prototype chess set, I think overall, even though it looks unusual, I think it plays well. It feels a little bit different. I wouldn't necessarily say that it feels like it's unstable. That might be one of the things that people, you know, might conclude from watching this video is this looks like a chess set that might be a little bit too small or too slender or whatever. I think it works well. It's going to be having, of course, a smaller footprint here as far as, you know, the pawns, for example, they're going to be a little bit smaller to hold. The pieces are a bit lighter. But overall, like I said, the chess set feels stable because of the wide bases here. It looks nice. It doesn't wobble. So if you wanted something different, this might be the chess set for you, possibly. But it plays well. I mean, like, I don't actually sit here while I'm playing and thinking or having my attention diverted to the fact that somehow this chess set feels different. It doesn't. It doesn't feel different in any way, because the board works well. The connection is very quick and seamless. It just feels like a game, just like any other game, really. They handle, you know, ergonomically very much so like any other pieces. They look a little bit different, but even then, it's not like I'm sitting here being confused about which piece is which. So I think overall, this might very well be a chess set, especially for those who want something different. The timeless chess pieces, the same chess pieces that we've seen with the prototype board, these are great too. These are great. I feel like one of the things that makes these pieces faster is they're just a little bit lighter. And in my opinion, that kind of adds to sort of the way they feel. I really like, I mean, I know some people are they don't look favorably on the German knights, but I gotta tell you, out of a lot of the knights that I have, the German knights, due to their sort of simplicity and slick design, they're a little bit easier to grab overall. Now, queenside castle. I'm not really playing here, more so that I'm just kind of showing you guys how this particular chess set works. You do get to play against stockfish of different levels, of course. I think, or as of right now, I think it's between level 1 and level 8, but yeah, some people were asking about that. Is stockfish going to be available? And it is. Now, you know, they're integrating the ability to play on chess.com, lead chess, and everything, like I said, as before, Works really, really well. And then finally we have the Staunton, the American Staunton chess set that came with this board. We've seen this particular chess set before when I did the review of this board here, and as before, works really well. There we go. And also feels good, just like the timeless chess pieces. I don't really think that extra little bit of weight, like I think there was a difference of 10 grams in some cases, really makes a difference so much. The pawns weigh about the same. I think that's 15 grams. You do notice that these feel a little bit more polished in hand. So for somebody that wants a little bit of a more finished look, this might be the set that you guys might want to go for. Well, so that's really more or less about all I wanted to share with you guys today. Like I said, all the pieces work well. All the pieces feel great. The modern prototype chess pieces are going to be substantially different as far as the shape overall of the other pieces, but they don't feel that much different when you're actually playing the games, simply because everything else works about the same. And it's, yeah, so in the end, I feel like it's going to be really your own choice of preference. So if, for example, today is the day you decided to invest into the iChess One board, you'd maybe have those options, or at least have the options between, like, for example, the timeless chess pieces and the Staunton ones. Or in the future, if you're watching this video a year from now or so and you decide, hey, I'd really like to know the difference between the classical Staunton or the timeless or whichever other designs they might have available, hopefully when you are watching this video you'll say, thank you for making this video because it was helpful to me in being able to make that decision. And if that's the case, be sure to hit that like button. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about these particular chess pieces. And as always, I hope everybody stays safe, plays more chess, and I'll see you guys in the next video, okay? Bye-bye.